Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the metal man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a stack of rock. Grab a stack of rock.
I didn't know we were supposed to dance.
No, I saw Jex dancing because I
Wow.
with you guys, and I just decided to play along.
You didn't get the memo?
No.
Man.
Kevin, welcome in. And I don't believe you've been on with Jex before.
I have not. No, this is the first time.
But you know of him, I'm certain.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Most excellent.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Thanks
to meet
for
you
coming
too,
on.
sir.
And I love is that Angus?
It is.
Awesome. I love your shirt. We are
Thank
here
you.
to talk about the top 5 bald artists today. And I thought, let's consult one of the great experts. And we're going to have some fun today. But as you know, we like to start every show with a little thing called Ask Harrison. Now, today, Harrison isn't with us, but we do have a question for Jex. Jex, are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Here's a question from Dr. Catherine.
Please welcome to the show. It's Dr. Catherine.
Hello, everyone. Dr. Catherine here, and I have a question for Jex on this show. So I have been privy to your lists ahead of time, and one of the things that I noticed is that, Jex, you have Unsolved Mysteries on your list, and one of the questions that I had for you is what your thoughts are on the new Netflix Unsolved Mysteries that was launched a few years ago. If you're familiar with the show, you know that they essentially use the same theme song, but they've rearranged it. It's updated. And I personally love the theme song from the new Netflix Unsolved Mysteries. And I think it really nicely pays homage to the original. But I'm wondering, what do you think about that?
For context, that was recorded for the TV show themes, but I shuffled other things in there. But anyway, that's a question from Dr. Catherine for you.
Very good question. I haven't seen the new Unsolved Mysteries, so I haven't heard the theme song. We actually don't have Netflix at the moment.
No.
So I've never seen it, but I'm gonna go check it out now. I'm very curious because, as you've seen from my list of favorite theme songs, I love that original theme song from the 80s or 90s, whenever it was. I still my arms, like the hairs on my arms, stand up when I hear it. Like I could just think of being a kid and it would come on. I remember the disclaimer too, right before, like, the following is not a news broadcast, and then and then Robert Stack's voice. I can't picture it because I'm sure it's a different host now. I can't picture it having the same effect without his narration. You know, well, I don't know. I'll still check it out though. You got me curious, Dr. Catherine. So
maybe we'll do a follow-up on this on a future date.
Definitely, yeah. I'm curious.
Kevin, any thoughts on that?
I haven't heard it either.
Okay.
I haven't seen. I didn't even know there was a new Unsolved Mysteries.
I found out from that question. Okay, so we have John T. Snow in the house, and as you guys know, we have some unboxings too. So I want to rip through these real quick. We'll start with the small and go to the big, which would be a mystery box from Tim Derling. This first package is from tpublic.com, and it is, look at that, some new stickers. So be handing these out to some friends, the Grab a Stack of Rock ones, and then I have some T-Bone Man ones, and some Too Loud, where'd it go? Too Loud, Too Old, and Tim's Vinyl Confessions. These are going on my laptop, I believe.
Nice.
I think we're going to do a nice sticker collage on my laptop where there are scuffs. So you can get these again at tpublic.com, but only when they're on sale. They have 30% off sales fairly frequently. So that's when to strike. And, Tim, John, and I, we always appreciate the support anytime you can support us. And Chris Sarr knows that I did not win the lottery. So thank you very much. This next parcel is from Robert Lawson, who was a guest a couple of times on the LeBrain train. And he is a writer and a friend. And he gave me something extra too. But we'll start with the main thing, which is Wheatfield Empire, Listener's Guide to the Guess Who. This guy knows his stuff.
Nice.
Let's see what he wrote. If he wrote anything. Yes, he did. Thank you for purchasing. Mike, we're trucking off across the sky with the LeBrain Pain Train. Thanks for the continued support. Robert Lawson, 2023. Thank you, Robert. So I'll be looking forward to reading this. And he gave me a CD. Ooh, Tabla Beat Science, live in San Francisco. That sounds interesting. Robert's into all kinds of stuff, and I must have at one point expressed interest in tabla, so he has sent me something, and it looks interesting as heck. Thank you, Robert. There you go. And finally, the big one from Mr. Derling.
Oh, wow.
It's a cube, and it just looks easier to open from the bottom, so that's what I'm going to attempt to do. Tim Derling, where are you, my friend? Oh, we have in the house Mike Vargo.
Ah,
Good day, sir.
Hey,
Hope
Mike.
you're doing well. This package comes from Mr. Derling, and I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. The man is surprising.
the mystery man.
The mystery man. Okay, so, there's something large in here, that's for sure. And there's something, okay, there's two somethings. Something wrapped in newspaper, which is a blue 8-track tape. Kevin,
Oh, nice.
look at that. Now, here's something interesting is there's no cover art on the
Yeah.
sticker,
It would be on the slipcase, right?
most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Tim. Yes, so now I have 4 8-track tapes in my collection. Thank
Let the
you.
addiction begin.
Well, he's good at that. Now what? Oh my God, this is an entire brick of 8-track tapes,
So now you have more than
brand
4.
wrapped together. But let's see if I can undo this quickly. Wow. Okay, I can't undo this super quickly, but I'll show and I'll read from top down. Kansas, point of no return. Eagles. Oh my God. Eagles, the long run. Star Wars. I can't read. Oh no, oh Jesus, it's not Star Wars. It's Miko, music inspired by Star Wars.
Oh my goodness.
Is that the
The
disco
legendary
one?
Disco version. Journey Departure, The Cars, self-titled. Alice Cooper, Lace and Whiskey. Bad Company looks like self-titled, and Foreigner Head Games. Oh my God, now that is a true stack of rock. Thank you, Mr. Derling. Oh my God, I am so thrilled. And Jon Snow just picked up. Oh, there you go. 12.
Do you have an 8-track player to play these on?
No, nobody who collects these things seems. I thought it was a brick of coke. Nobody who collects these things seems to have anything to play them on.
Right.
All right, fellas, down to business. So you guys know what's going on. We're doing the top 5 bald artists. We're just going to have some fun with it today. We have some guest lists, and I guess we should get started. We'll run the Cinco. Oh shit! I forgot. I'm not quite ready yet. Jex, I'm going to run the Cinco de Listo. Can you start, you and Kevin, with the guest list that I've already given you, and you guys can discuss? I'll just be a minute.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got my fingers in a fishbowl. Cinco de Listo. The pentagram made crystal. Cinco de Listo. Got buckles left in a pixel. Cinco de Listo. One bullet shy of a pistol. Cinco de Listo. Cinco de Listo. Cinco de Listo. Cinco de Listo.
Everybody awake?
Okay.
Guys, it has begun. Oh, Mikey. The beautiful locks, dude. All right, let's so Kevin, do you have a guest list you want to start with, or
I do not. No. I asked Sarah, and she said I couldn't think of anything. So
Okay.
I just
All
have
right,
my
well,
own list.
I'm going to start. These lists were submitted to me by Mike. So the first one is from John Clauser. Oh, he's muted.
Sorry.
Let's go through the guest list. We're going to start with the list that came to us from John Clauser.
John Clauser.
All
I'm
right.
going back to mute.
Yeah. All right. So he at number 5, Sinead O'Connor. Number 4, Michael Barnes, which is a singer from Red. Kenny Greensburg, which is the guitarist for Ashley Cleveland and numerous studio sessions. This is great. These are names I've never heard before. Luke Easter, which is a singer for Tourniquet, Christian thrash metal band. I have heard of them. And number 1, John Bush of Armored Saint and Anthrax. Heard of him. So that was the top 5 from John Clauser of My Music Corner. So I don't know. Our host seems to be occupied. I don't know if I'm supposed to keep going or go with my.
Keep going, man. I'm almost done.
Okay. This is right off the cuff, Cole. This is right off the cuff, folks. We don't know what we're doing. The next one comes from Jazz King, which is a singer-songwriter and friend of Mike's. Her top 5 is Ivan Moody at number 5 from Five Finger Death Punch. At number 4, David Draymond of Disturbed. At number 3, Maynard James Keenan of Tool. Number 2, Phil Collins. Good pick. Almost made my list. Almost. Number 1, her husband, Rob, which is a singer for a band called Those Guys, classic rock band. So those were the top 5 from Jazz King. And the last list that came to us is from Peter Kerr of Rock Daydream Nation. At number 5, he has Angry Anderson of Rose Tattoo. He says Australia represent. Number 4 is Skin of Skunk Anansi. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Look at this guy. Look at Lex Luthor over here. Number 3, Tony Martin of Black Sabbath, who was receding even in the 80s.
Yes.
Number 2, Rob Halford. Very, very great pick. And number 1, Peter Garrett of Midnight Oil, Australia.
Awesome. Jex, I'm all done here. If you don't mind, I'm just going to take a moment to brush off and change my shirt. Keep reading with with your first pick.
My first pick.
Yeah.
And then
I can
Kevin-
hear you. I can
Okay.
hear you, but I'll just be off camera.
Okay. All right. So, shall we get into it, Kevin? Looks like it's just
Sure.
you and me.
Why not?
I can hear you. Don't worry. I am here.
All right. Well, this was easy. This is a hard list to make, actually, but it was easy. Number 5, I knew right out of the gate that without a doubt, number 5 would have to be a man who needs no introduction. And I'm talking about Renee Diff of Danish Norwegian Euro pop band Aqua. This is a very easy pick. No,
Are you serious?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I only know Aqua because of their exposure on Much Music in the 90s. I had to look up his name. I just thought of his chrome dome. I was like,
Old guy who says, "Come on, Barbie, let's go party."
Yeah.
That's the guy. You know, Todd in the Shadows just did a video on that band. It was very interesting. You should check it out.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was just telling Jex about Todd in the Shadows like 2 days ago.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
well, there
have
you
to
go.
look it up. But anyway, let's get serious. I had to make a little joke. You guys recognize this guy?
Yeah, that would be Bob Kulick.
Correct. Bob Kulick, brother of Bruce. And while he wasn't a regular Kiss member, he did contribute to Kiss. The studio tracks on Alive 2. He was on the Killers compilation. He was on Unmasked.
Yeah,
And,
he played ghost guitar a lot.
Yeah. He's a session musician. He was with Wasp, which I only learned recently. Meatloaf. So
Yes.
you know,
Well, actually, I think Bruce and Bob both played with Meatloaf, if I'm not mistaken.
oh, maybe. So Michael Bolton in his early days.
That's
when he was
Bruce.
more-
That's Bruce.
I thought Bob too.
No, Bruce Kulick played in Blackjack
Blackjack, but
with.
well, Michael Bolton. I read it on Wikipedia, man.
Well, you know what? I might be wrong. Like I know, like it's funny enough. I was listening to Blackjack with Bruce Kulick and Michael Bolton this
Yes.
afternoon.
Yes. No, you're right about that. I knew about that, but apparently
Okay.
Bob also played with Michael Bolton. So anyway, my number 5.
Wicked. The Aqua thing is really funny because it's like that bald guy was kind of iconic in that band in the 90s.
That's why he came to mind. I'm like, oh well, he's not gonna make my list, but I have to mention it. I have to bring it up.
I do remember that he had like kind of like a blue racing stripe shaved into the side of his head, which, you know, to each their own. Anyway, thanks, Jex. That's a great number 5. Kevin, I'm sorry to have shocked you with this. Only Jex was in on it, but
He didn't know.
no, he didn't
No,
know.
I don't know anything.
I was worried that he'd back out if he knew. But as you know, I do like to take it down all the way to the wood every so often, and it was just getting unruly.
I don't understand guys that do that, to be honest, because like this is not a choice, right? I have to do this. If I had your hair, I would be just like, you know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let it fly. Let it fly.
It feels
I
great. It feels amazing.
I don't it's not a choice, you know.
Yeah. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Okay.
Well,
anyway,
so-
your number 5.
So this not a choice plays very much into my list, because not only are all of these musicians that I admire, but they also played a part in making this socially acceptable. Because if you remember in the 80s, guys had to do a lot of crazy things, you know, toupees and comb overs and the whole bit, because this was not socially acceptable until around the mid 90s. There's even a Seinfeld episode where there's a bald guy, you know, and they're all commenting because it was so unusual. I guess it was just unusual looking. I wouldn't say it wasn't socially acceptable. It's just an unusual look for a man, for anyone really. But so my list. So I tried to stay away from guys who were balding. This is just my list, by the way. I'm not judging anyone else's list. So I tried to stay away from guys who were balding and guys who went bald later, or at least they had to have gone bald while they were in their prime, while the whole thing was going. So I'm going to start off with what guys had to do in the 80s. So my number 5 pick is, of course, Kim Mitchell. Now, Kim Mitchell, I looked at this and I thought, is he bald enough, though? Really? Because he's got a bit of a skullet going, but is he bald enough? And, you know, this is the last Max Webster album, so I had to go over to the solo career, and you look at it, and he does, like, wear a lot of hats and stuff like that, and there's a lot of shadows and that to make him, like, this is from behind here, right? To make him look like he's got hair, and I'm like, is this really a guy who's bald? And then you look over at the back cover, and you're like, yeah, this is a guy who is bald. So just for a frame of reference, this is what was happening in the 80s, and this is Kim Mitchell, my number 5 pick, who's completely bald now, but when he was in his prime, that's how he looked.
And of course, the technical term for this haircut is skullet.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Excellent. We might be seeing some of these artists again on this list, but this first artist, I guarantee you're not going to see him again. And this is a personal thing because you guys both know I love this band. I've shown this album off with Kevin before, actually, on the show, on the LeBrain Train. Back in the 80s, when I was growing up, first being exposed to music with Much Music, I had no conception of which bands were big, relatively speaking, with other bands. To me, Helix were just as big as Van Halen because their videos were being played on the same shows. And same with this band, Blotto. They were as big as Helix and as Van Halen because they had a video on Much Music. And I thought, well, here's a weird looking band. They've got a nerd with glasses. That guy's name is Bowtie Blotto. And then they have this bald guy. And that guy's name is Cheese Blotto. And I was like, I don't get it. I didn't understand that Blotto were really a very clever comedy rock band. I didn't get that. I didn't understand it. I thought they were a total serious metal band by the song Metalhead. It's the only metal song on this album. But anyway, Cheese Blotto. There he is. His real name was Keith Stevenson, and he died in 1999 of heart problems. Wow. And Blotto did carry on with other bassists for a while, but unfortunately we lost lead singer Sergeant Blotto a couple of years ago. But that would be my number 5, because to me, he was an icon. Keith A. Stevenson, a.k.a. Cheese Blotto, from the band Blotto. And they were out of, I think, Albany, New York, or somewhere like that.
Yeah, not to be confused with Moncton's Blotto, but that's a story.
That's a whole other story. That's I can't believe that they named themselves Blotto after there was already like a known band called blotto, but
Yes.
and so it goes.
All right.
So this brings us to round 2 with your number 4 pick.
Number 4. All right. First, let me ask you: are you cold, Mike? You getting kind of
No,
cold?
like I was saying to Kevin, and you know, maybe this is just the novelty of the shave. It feels great. It's really warm up here right now, and now my head feels cool. I'm not lying. That's exactly how I feel right now. Now, the only thing is, as you guys both know, I've been getting a lot of sun this summer, so I'm gonna tip my head forward, and you guys are gonna have to tell me if my bald spot now looks like a lamp. Tell me if I'm white on top.
What bald spot?
Well, you know what I mean? Am I like white? Am I like red and white? Or am I okay?
but
A little bit?
Yeah.
not so bad.
Well, that's why we're gonna do the New Radicals hat if necessary. If necessary. All right, sorry. Over to you, Jex.
All right, number 4. Might just make everyone's list. I wouldn't be surprised. He was one of the first ones to come to my mind when I put this list together, and it's none other than guitarist extraordinaire, Joe Satriani. And I've always known him looking like this, right? It wasn't until later I started picking up, like, what's it called? Flying in a Blue Dream, and stuff like that. And on the cover, he's got the full head of hair. I was like, whoa.
But this came along when he did his self-titled blues album in 1995.
That's when he brought this look?
That's when he brought that look.
Right, yeah. And that's how I was introduced to him, was looking like this. I think it's a cool look. Sunglasses, no hair, badass guitar playing.
Well, if you look on the screen directly underneath Jax, you will see Harrison's Lego representation of Joe Satriani. So that's the first guy from Lego. Yeah, that's the first guy from Harrison's Lego art that has been on the list so far. And you can see he did it for the sunglasses.
I love it. Yeah. So that's all I got to say about this. Joe Satriani, number 4.
I was hoping he was going to make a list. Awesome. Thank you, Jax. All right, Kevin, you're up.
Okay, so my shirt was a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yes.
Right when I was a little late to the party when it came to AC/DC. It was really around 1990 when the Razor's Edge was the big album. And at the time, their drummer was this freaky bald guy with these 2 big bass drums that he would hammer on. And he was just, part of the whole look, and that really part of what, besides their music, appealed to me about AC/DC. And he even made the cover of Live right there. There's Chris Slade right there in the back. His chrome is like matching the cymbals. How cool is that?
Looks like Angus is kicking him in the head.
Yeah. He probably deserved it. Who knows? but yeah, to go along with, like how unusual that was. Like that was a very unusual look. And, he really stood out in those videos for the Razor's Edge, So that's my number 4 right there, Chris Slade.
And that is the second artist from Harrison's art that has been picked.
Oh, so Chris Slade is the drummer. Okay.
Yeah, if I removed us all, I'm not going to do that right now, but if I removed us all, you'd see Chris Slade as the drummer. And that's the second time he's used Chris Slade. There was some LeBrain Train artwork with a band as well, and he had Chris Slade on drums there. And just for those who are curious about Lego, those are, I believe, Harry Potter wands that he uses as drumsticks.
Oh, very
Harrison,
cool.
I will plug his Instagram. I believe it's Harrison_1773 on Instagram. Fantastic art. Every time he does a new episode of T-Bone Man, he goes forward and posts a behind the scenes of how he does the artwork. Totally follow Harrison on Instagram. The guy's a Lego genius, and he's a good friend.
He's so creative.
An awesome pick for Kevin, and I concur with his statement about how unusual that was. And it was the same with Cheese Blotto. It's like, what is this guy doing on my Pepsi Power Hour? With
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you look at any hair metal, well, they were hair metal bands. They were, it was in the name, right?
Right.
And they all had huge hair. So to have a guy be bald like that, it was very unusual.
It was. And, it must have taken courage at one point to just go down and say, I'm going down to the wood, which Kim Mitchell also eventually did.
Yep.
If you're going to be in a hair metal band and not have hair, you better bring something else to compensate, like the like an attitude, you need to be a badass.
All right.
Well, speaking of badass, let me see. Who am I going to? You know what? We're going to go with this one because Kevin already said this guy. This is my number 4. And he wasn't very bald at this point. But there's Kim for the second time on these lists. He was receding,
Yeah,
Definitely receding.
definitely receding.
And I always did think it was kind of funny. Do you remember, Kevin, the music video that Much Music used to play for Lager and Ale? It was a live music video.
Yep.
And Kim was really rocking the long hair and the skullet, no hat in that video, no baseball hat to hide it. And I was just like, you know what? That takes guts. He knows he's losing his hair and he's just going with it.
And it's weird. Kim would like half the time he would try to hide it, and the other half he didn't care. And I don't know. By the end of the 80s, he just seemed to not care at all.
You also had an evolution of hats. You know, he was kind of known for the OPP hat for a certain era, and then he kind of switched to that black, not quite cowboy hat, but almost like more of a Clint Eastwood hat.
Yeah.
And then he kind of just shaved it off and went. He's iconic, though, especially in Canada. If we have American viewers today, you guys should really check out Kim Mitchell solo and Max Webster. Kim Mitchell solo is more, I don't know, what would you say? Adult contemporary rock?
Yeah, it's definitely like Max Webster's more of a prog rock band, whereas Kim Mitchell leans more towards hard rock, more like kind of hair metal, but it's more rock and roll. It's not like
it's like melodic.
Yeah,
melodic. He's got a lot of ballads as a solo artist.
Yeah,
not that he doesn't with Max, but there's always a twist. You know, Terry Watkinson's keyboards, and you know there is a second bald guy, Mike Tilka, the bassist. There he is. He's there he is right there.
Yeah,
Mike Tilka, the second bald guy. So we got to give him a shout out, and that might cover all the bald guys from Max Webster that I'm aware of.
By Dubois, isn't he? Isn't he?
He always had like big wizardy kind of hair, you know.
Yeah, but didn't he kind of go bald? I can't remember.
I don't think there's been recent pictures of Pi. I might be
okay.
wrong about that, but he kind of went reclusive, I think.
Yeah,
you know, whatever. So that's my number 4. Kim Mitchell for the second time. And then we are back to Jex with round 3.
This one, I just thought of them today. I had 4 on my list. I had a hole I had to fill. I couldn't think of one. So I cheated. I didn't cheat, but I went on Google. I started looking at list bald artists because I was drawing a blank. I couldn't think of any. I needed that boost. And then I saw this guy's name. I'm like, of course. How did I not think of him? Again, in the 80s, he had the long hair. He was headbanging away. But now you may know him. He has more hair here. And I'm talking about Scott Ian of Anthrax. See, he's been rocking that look since the early 90s. I'd say at least 30 years.
I think Sound of White Noise might have been the debut of that look.
Yep.
I'm not certain.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Actually, Persistence of Time, I think he already had it. But anyway, this is his look with that goatee, and he rocks it. And I'm an Anthrax fan. That's why I can't believe he didn't even come to mind. I think I was panicking a little bit on this list. Mike knows I had other things on the mind, but when I saw his name, I'm like, that's it. That's my number 3.
And of course, our pal John Clauser at the very beginning of the show named John Bush from Anthrax.
Yeah.
And I will just plug Clauser's show real quick. We are doing a panel show on Sound of White Noise, Anthrax, and Armored Saint, Symbol of Salvation. We're going to kind of put those 2 albums head to head. And if I get home from the cottage soon enough, we'll be recording that on Sunday. I'm really excited. And we have a comment here from the Distortion Den. Kimbo had the best skullet. There you go. So Kim, for Deke, if you are just catching up now, Kim Mitchell has now appeared on the list twice. Kevin did it with Universal Juveniles and
Akimbo.
And I did it with the debut Max. There you go. There it is.
Will he appear again? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right, and that brings us back to Kevin.
Okay, so what, number 3 now?
Number 3.
Yes.
Okay, so in the 90s, I knew I was losing my hair. I knew it wasn't going to be hanging on to it for too much longer. So what was I going to do? When eventually it all goes, am I going to go skullet? Am I going to just go all crazy bald like Chris Slade? But there was one guy who had the answer. I remember when this album came out, I went to the store, I bought it, I opened it up, and Scott Ian from Anthrax had the answer. I remember like opening this up, and I'm like, what? He's bald now? And then the video for Room for One More came out, and then on the inside, you open it up, and there he is right there with the very short hair. And I thought, that's the look. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do the chin thing. That's really not my thing, but that's going to be my haircut. Hopefully, by the time I lose my hair, it'll stay in vogue, and I'll be able to not worry about hair pieces and comb overs and the whole bit. So that's why Scott Ian, not only is he a great musician, but I adopted his hair.
Right on.
Well, this is impressive. Good showing for Anthrax here today.
Yeah, man, I just want to listen to Sound of White Noise now. It's been a while. I love that
Yeah.
album. I love
That's
that
great.
You know what? I sneak preview. I played Sound of White Noise and Symbol of Salvation a number of times this week, and Armored Saint is just they have more like a melodic thrash style, and that was the one I was gravitating to. But I haven't made my notes for the show yet. That's going to be tomorrow's job.
Well, for me, Anthrax was always a really crunchy, especially with the John Bush years, a really crunchy band, and that's my style of thrash metal. I love that hard, crunchy sound, you know?
Yep. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of good discussion on that because both have merit. My number 3, I thought I would bring something that I've shown this off before, but it's kind of a cool item because not very many people have it complete with the box. But one of the most iconic bald singers in the world is, of course, Rob Halford, right?
Nice.
And Rob Halford didn't go full bald until the Painkiller album. And he also, for good measure, went and inked some tattoos into his noggin at the exact same time. Why not?
It's like lightning bolts, right?
There's a lightning bolt on one side, and I don't know what's on the other. But, you know, to each their own. Halford has committed himself to the tattoos, that's for sure. But Painkiller, man, I remember being so psyched for this album. This was my last year of high school. My sister hated Judas Priest, and they spent the entire summer getting thrashed, pun intended, in the press for the suicide trial. And,
Right.
Of course, that was ridiculous. There was no back masking. There was no subliminal messages, and Judas Priest came on top and whatnot. But, you know, for a fan in his teens who legitimately had his heart sunk into bands that he loved, it was a tense summer. Like, I was riveted to the news every night because basically every second night they would have an update on the Judas Priest trial. And Halford had hair during the trial. He was very respectable looking. He was like wearing a suit jacket and everything. But as soon as it came time to promote the album, off came the hair, and he looked badass. I'll see if I can find a good picture. These remasters have more artwork than the original CD generally, but nothing really. No, he's wearing a hat in most of these photos, unfortunately.
That music video for Painkiller, where you see him, he's got the shaved head. It's all black and white, and
And it's strobing. The strobe light, makes everything scary.
right.
There's a booklet that came with this box set, so I'm just going to see if there's a good bald Halford. Yeah, there's some. He kind of did the racing stripe thing with his hair. You can kind of see he shaved the racing stripe into the side of the hair.
See, it was a very awkward time for men back then. We didn't know what to do, And it wasn't until guys like Rob Halford and Scott Ian, and really, I remember Michael Jordan too. That was big too when he shaved his head, because no guys were doing that, and he had a lot of hair, and he just, there was Isaac Hayes and stuff like that, but Isaac Hayes was naturally bald.
Yeah, I don't remember Michael Jordan with hair. I've always known him without.
Yeah, he had hair. He was rocking it for a long time, and then he came out that one year. It was like when the Bulls were huge, and he just shaved it all off. And even the commentators were saying stuff about it, which was unusual.
Yeah, interesting.
As a joke, I was going to put Gene Simmons on my list, but be kind. I'll be kind. Anyway, again, this is a really cool box. To get it, you had to buy the first 4 CDs in the series, remastered. You'd get the box, and then you had to fill the rest of it yourself. And it came with these little foam inserts. And I think somewhere in my storage locker, I still have the foam inserts because, a part of me thinks that that's part of to keep the set as original as possible,
Yeah.
But this is a nice set. There have been many Judas Priest sets since then, but these remasters have bonus tracks that didn't necessarily always carry over to the next issue of the album. And some of them are quite good. Seriously, quite good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm missing a bunch of them. I have quite a few, but I need to get the rest to kind of complete that image on the spines there.
Right, right. Which never quite lines up exactly, which I know that gets under Tim Derling's skin. So that is my number 3. So we're heading into the top 2 already.
Already.
I can't
Jeez.
believe it. We're ahead of time. We'll have time to chat afterwards.
Yeah. All right. So, for my number 2, let me tell you, this is going to be easy because Mr. Mike Ladano
Uh-oh.
did the heavy lifting already.
There it is.
So what are the chances? All the overlap. So Rob Halford, which again, he only came to mind today. I think I've been stressed this week, guys. I've been stressed, and it's been hard to think of a bald artist. And then somebody mentioned, I think you sent me, who was it? Peter's list. I saw Rob Halford. Be like, well, of course, he's going on my list. I'm a huge Judas Priest fan, so yeah, he had to make it because this is again how I remember him. I mean, I remember him. When I was getting into Judas Priest, I was checking out all the stuff. I remember the blonde hair, in the Breaking the Law video when they're in the car. He's got the hair. Breaking the law. But this is how I remember him. Not so much with the beard. I remember clean shaven. The Painkiller, video. That's the image I have when I think of Rob Halford. So yeah, he had to make the list. No brainer.
And that's sort of like the reunion era of Rob Halford from Angel of Retribution onwards. He's been rocking the beard, and I think now it's kind of like a Snow White beard, if I'm not.
Yeah,
mistaken.
it's huge.
Yeah.
When I was looking for an image on Google, like one image came up, and he's like Santa Claus.
And it's funny because I was initially I had an idea that I was only going to make a list with artists that I owned on vinyl, and I couldn't find any bald Halford that I owned on vinyl. But I was looking at the old Halford albums, and you look back to like the Turbo era when he had like a blonde perm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he's I've got much music videos of him where he's like rocking this blonde hair metal perm, and it's the man has rocked many styles over the years. So give it up for Rob Halford. And I mean, come on, everybody here, we all love Priest, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kevin, it's up to you for number 2.
Okay, so I was still a little worried about me losing my hair. I had the look from Scott Ian, but it's one thing from like relative. I won't say an obscure metal band, but like ladies don't know who like Anthrax. They're just not interested in it for the most part. There are exceptions, but for the most part, so. It really like I was dying for this look to go mainstream, and I remember when this album came out, and I walked into the store and I saw this, and I'm like, I got nothing to worry about now. I thought I had nothing to worry about before, but when Gord Downey just put it right on the cover,
there it is,
follicles and all, like he just like look at that, like that's like he does not care at all. And it's one thing to like put it on the cover, but then to double down on the back cover and say, look at it from the side. That's the look, ladies. That's what you're looking at now. So hats off, literally, for Downey for doubling down on the Scott Ian look and making it socially acceptable.
And incidentally, if there's anybody out there who doesn't own that album, that doesn't know that album, it's freaking amazing.
It's Live Between Us. This is their live album that came out in the mid-90s.
Yeah. Back then, maybe before Live Between Us, but there was a period of time where the Hip were releasing all of their new albums on like midnight on Friday night, Saturday morning. And, Toronto stores were doing Midnight Madness sales. And we wanted to do one at our record store, but the boss just wasn't open to it. We said we would work for free just for a copy of the album. We're doing Midnight Madness, but anyway, those were the days when you could count on a new Hip album. And thank goodness they've got a new Phantom Power box set coming, or is it out?
Next month.
Next month.
I have it pre-ordered. So,
and I love that album. That is one of my personal favorite Hip albums. So that one's tempting. Very, very tempting. The deluxe edition of Fully Completely was great. So good pick, Kevin. I had forgotten that icon. Now this next artist is a new bald art icon. I think it was 2022 or 2023 where this artist said, folks, I've been wearing a wig all these years. And what is the condition called? I can't pronounce it. So I'm going to let one of you guys hopefully tell me. What is a condition called where you can't grow hair?
Alopecia?
That's it. And Joe Lynn Turner revealed that he's suffered from that his whole life.
Oh.
And this is a wig. And, some people knew, some people didn't. but I didn't care particularly. But I gotta say, Joe Lynn Turner, badass. You know, that can't be easy to say, hey, listen, you know what? This is the real me. Take it or leave it. And he actually looks pretty freaking cool with no hair. Kind of makes you wish that he'd done it earlier, but you know, more power to him. Joe Lynn Turner. This is his solo album from I think '85 called Rescue You, and it is produced by Roy Thomas Baker. You might know him from like some Queen albums or something like that. I got to give this another listen. I gave it kind of a scathing review for being too pop when I first reviewed it like 10 years ago, and I got to give it another chance because I'm more open to that sound now than I was 10 years ago. And it's Joe Lynn Turner. Other musicians on this are Chuck Berge from Rainbow on drums, Bobby Massano on guitar and bass, and Alan Greenwood on keyboards. So Joe Lynn Turner, my number 2. I don't own any of his stuff. Bald, but that's what he's doing now, and more power to him.
I had no idea. I hadn't heard of this. I'll have to look up some photos.
Well, I got to tell you, you know, you're used to seeing Joe Lynn Turner look a certain way his whole career, and now you see him bald. And I got to say, he pulled it off. It's kind of like Kevin will remember this. Do you remember when Bob Barker one time started a season off, and he's like, "I have white hair."
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
For sure, yeah.
And you know, it took some time to get used to, but then after a while, Al Greenwood was in Foreigner.
Oh, there you go.
After a while, you couldn't picture Bob Barker with anything but the white hair.
Yeah.
That's the same with Joe Lynn Turner. It's going to be in time. You know, people will be like, that's the badass, the bald badass. Well, Jex, this is it. This is the final round.
All right, my number 1, marking his 3rd appearance on the show. Might as well go for
There it is.
I had to put him on my number 1. I love Kim. And yeah, that's the look. That's the look he's been sporting, like you guys said, since like the 90s. This is what he's looked like. And yeah, I had the pleasure of seeing him twice in concert. Really cool. Puts on a great show. He's still got it. Plays guitar like a madman. Great singing voice. Really funny too. Well, Tim, who's watching, I went to see Kim with Tim back in April. And when we're walking before the show, we're just walking around looking at merch. And who do we see coming towards us? Kim Mitchell. We're like in a hallway, so he's coming towards us, and when he gets close, I just kind of do I just nod hello. I didn't want to freak out, be like, "Oh, Kim Mitchell!" I just, and then he was holding a banana and he pointed it right at me. He goes, "Stick him up!" I'm like, no, don't shoot, man. And that was it. That was my interaction. That was my interaction with Kim Mitchell. I thought it was cool. He's just a laid back dude, So that's why he's my number 1. I love the guy.
And heart attack survivor, more power to him there too.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
It's funny. You said Kim with Tim, and my brain just started doing all this stuff. And
that was hard to say. When I said it, I'm like, "Well, that was weird." In my mind.
You guys probably don't remember the former Toronto Maple Leaf player John Mitchell. He's currently a commentator with the Avalanche. But I work with his dad, John Mitchell Sr. And one day I was working the phones, and his wife called. It's like, "Oh, is John there?" It's his wife, Kim. And I said, "John, your wife's name is Kim Mitchell? That's cool." And he goes, "Why?" The singer, Kim. Oh, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Never dawned on him. Never
dawned on him. Never dawned on him.
Wow.
Who was playing keyboards, Jex, at the Kim Mitchell show?
What's his name? The guy from Honeymoon Suite, Coburn.
Oh, Ray Coburn. That's cool.
Yeah. Tim teases me because I gave what's the album, Tim? I can't think of it. There's The Big Prize. I gave it a very, very bad review because of the keyboards. And then when we got to the Kim Mitchell concert, Tim's like, "Look who's playing keyboards." I'm like, "Oh no."
When Honeymoon Suite came out with that album, and then, "If I could have wings," I was like, who wrote this shit fucking pop bullshit? That was me then. I have changed. I like that stuff now. And like I was talking to Jon Snow about Brighton Rock. My favorite Brighton Rock album now is the Keyboardy Middle album. I've changed.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely albums I used to not like because they were too mellow or too slow that I ended up liking. So I keep telling Tim, it's just a matter of time that I start liking the Big Prize. It's just not today.
There you go. All right, Kevin, the pressure is on you. What
No.
is number one?
I saw Kim Mitchell a couple of months ago, and I can't tell you who played keys. I have no idea. Kim Mitchell was definitely up on stage,
It was
and
probably Ray Coburn, I guess.
they did 2 Max Webster songs. So there you
Which
go.
two do you remember?
Nice.
Oh God, why put go for a soda? No,
Never, it doesn't matter.
I can't remember. It was one was one of the. It was like an obscure track, and it was just. I actually in my review of the show, I actually said like I was kind of annoyed that they chose that Max Webster song because it was such an obscure song, and he kind of lost the crowd a little bit because the crowd was there to see Kim Mitchell, right? They weren't there to see Max Webster, and I was like, why not play like one of their more poppy songs or whatever, But it was interesting too because he ended the night with one of those, they had like several Moon songs and that, and they just High Class and Borrowed Shoes. I wish he would have played that because that's like my favorite song. It wasn't that one. Well, maybe it was. I can't remember. Anyways, my number one. So all this fretting and everything about balding and what kind of haircut I'm going to have and all that. And then in 2001, this guy comes on the scene and says, screw it. You could wear your baldness any way you want. You could have a big fat gut. You could put yourself right on the cover and be part of the greatest rock and roll band of all time. I know this because they say it in their intro all the time. I'm going with Kyle Gass of Tenacious D. Look at that guy.
Yeah,
Did not care at all. Even put horns on there. Look at that. Big fat gut. Big bald head. Right on. And right in front of Satan, too. There you go.
Oh, that's hilarious.
There you go. And I don't know. I guess this is edited out in the back here. I don't know what's going on there, but
I can't remember.
No. I think it's an insert. I keep my inserts.
Yeah, the stickers.
Yeah. I keep my stickers in there. That's all.
Hype sticker.
Okay. Hype sticker. That's right. Yeah. So there you go. That's my number one. Kyle Gass, who brought it all right back to the 80s. And just wear it au natural.
I almost picked Tenacious D. So
Me too. He came to mind. I'm like, no. He's if people aren't gonna know or care, and look at that.
Bring the visual aid, and then it doesn't matter if they know her.
There you go. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, before I go with my number one, I'll list some really good runners up. Local legend Paul McLeod. I'm assuming he was bald. The only reason I didn't put him on my list was because every picture I've seen of him, I'm pretty sure he's been wearing a beanie cap, but I'm pretty sure he was bald. Local legend Paul McLeod. And I'm having the brain farts right now. Come on, I emailed you or I Facebooked you a whole bunch.
You mentioned Queensryche.
Phil Anselmo.
Oh yeah,
Jeff Tate from Queensryche. Scott Rockenfield from Queensryche, I believe, rocks the completely bald head as well. One of my favorite drummers. Well, there's lots. Somebody mentioned Britney Spears. Now that's not nice.
Yeah.
Not.
I just got the joke. Okay. I was like, why is John talking about Britney Spears? I just got it. I forgot about the whole.
Tim wishes Kim Mitchell played more Max Webster. I probably would too, but
Yeah.
we are the
I'm not saying that he shouldn't have played more Max Webster. I'm saying that the song that they chose was not right for the Kim Mitchell crowd, and I want people to get into Max Webster.
Yeah.
So play songs that are more like that will get like, what song is this? What album is this from? And then we'll get the Max Webster reunion, and we can watch Max Webster and not just Kim Mitchell. That'd
be a dream scenario.
The first time I saw Kim, he played "Hangover," which is my favorite Max Webster song.
Yeah,
and the crowd went nuts. It was so well done. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I better get to it. My number one. Before I get to it, directly below me here, that's Billy Joel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And my number one is the lead singer of Harrison's fictional rock band of bald guys and another heart attack survivor. And he is looking badass these days. And that's Blaze Bayley. Somebody had to pick it. Harrison didn't want to do a list, so I took it upon myself to put Blaze Bayley as my number one. Now here's a collage of pictures of the man here. Now, there are actually 3 reasons that I selected Blaze Bayley for number one, and you can see one of them right here. Blaze Bayley rocks not only the bald head, but the white sideburns.
Ah,
You just don't see bald heads with sideburns. You see bald heads with sideburns and beards. You see bald heads with sideburns and, you know, the skullet or the hair that remains, but not just, those are just isolated sideburns. Those are just 2 patches of hair on the side of his head.
and he rocks them well.
And he rocks them. And you know what? This album's freaking good. Harrison sent this to me back in, I think it was March that I unboxed this on the show. This album's freaking good. And I wanted to read a lyric. Here's my notebook. I wanted to read a lyric. This is from the song called The Unstoppable Stephen Hawking. They told him he had 3 years to live. Then Hawking defied them. It's great. It's great. I love this stuff. Hey, Blaze Bayley is like a sci-fi nerd metal singer. And, you know, I think his voice is an acquired taste. I think as much as I like those Iron Maiden albums, I think he was the wrong singer for Iron Maiden. I do love the X Factor. I might have even given it a 5 out of 5 star rating, but I can't say, yeah, he's the Iron Maiden singer. I can't say that. His baritone, they had to change the way that he sang it, the songs. They could only do certain songs. But on his own, playing his own material, that baritone just booms. He's a powerful guy. He just bellows. I like Blaze Bayley, and I'm going to represent Blaze Bayley on behalf of my buddy Harrison. Thank you for sending me this album. It's great. War Within Me, his latest. Actually, he's got a double live out as well, but there he is. The man, the legend, Blaze Bayley. My number one. And we have Mike Vargo. We had Peter Garrett on Peter Kerr's list as his number one.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Good pick, Mike. Excellent. Well,
I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Now, was there anyone that you wanted to put on the list that you know is bald, but you don't have any hard evidence?
Well, Gene Simmons.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. You did mention Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
Mine, I know he's bald because no one's ever seen the top of his head. And and he'd be my number one. And that's Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. I know for a fact he's bald. He's always wearing either a cowboy hat, and then in the 90s he started wearing like this African beanie.
Yes.
And I think he started doing that in case his cowboy hat came off.
I call it
sort of like Neil Peart's is more like the African thing. This is like it's like a beanie. Like it's
and it sometimes has
like tassels on it now.
Yeah.
And he started like committing to that, and he would wear that underneath the cowboy hat. And I know it's because he's bald.
He's got to be.
I'm going to say Lifeson. I'm going to say Lifeson today would qualify. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one would be Steve Rothery from Marillion. He's been covering it up well for years, but I mean, now it's basically just it's all bare skin up here. Mark Kelly from Marillion, who committed to the bald look on 1994 Brave. For people who are covering it up, I've always suspected Roger Glover from Deep Purple, because ever since, I think the last time we've seen him without a bandana and a hat would have been 1990 Slaves and Masters album. So I'm thinking him. Who else? I had another one in mind. David Lee Roth.
Oh yeah. Well, he came out and shaved his head, right? It wasn't there. Did somebody was really mean on one of them websites and showed because when you get the hair plugs, it's like a line.
Yeah,
doesn't he have that or something? I don't know.
He might. I've definitely seen pictures of Wayne Newton with that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Tim suspects Bret Michaels from Poison.
That's interesting.
Okay, yeah,
that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking possibly Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue.
Oh, what does he usually? Does he usually have?
His hair just doesn't look real to me anymore. It looks like something he's wearing.
Good point.
And definitely all these guys, they're definitely gone white by now, but they still rock the jet black hair.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Gene Simmons. I think Paul Stanley I have suspicions about him as well.
I was going to say Paul Stanley. There's definitely suspicions there. And again, nothing wrong with this. Nobody cares.
No.
Nobody cares. Oh, and Deke mentioned Alex Van Halen. Yes, Deke mentioned this.
Right.
That's right.
Now, I don't remember what that looked like. I'd be curious to see some pictures. Ozzy shaved his head.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Ozzy shaved his head. Yes. I have a feeling there's a lot of drummers as well. Oh, Steve Lukather did the noble Bob Barker thing and stopped, in his words, painting his hair. Yeah, Brian May also stopped painting his hair.
Well, a lot of guys during the COVID thing just stopped with the it was a good excuse to stop doing it too, right? Because you're probably just tired of having to dye your hair all the time. So
I enjoyed when sports came back and all these sports commentators, they definitely didn't have the salon perfect hair anymore. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was good times.
Well, I think we've covered most of the great bald artists. I'm sure there's many that we've missed, so you can let us know in the comments. But let's go around real quick and catch up with what everybody's doing. Kevin, you've been on a rampage with Big Rec.
I have. Just stuff has been so busy around here lately. Like always constantly behind. I took Sarah and her sister to see Duran Duran earlier this week.
Ooh.
So right now I'm ready to go to bed after this.
Warren Cucurullo. Also rocking the bald head. He was in Duran Duran for a while. I don't know. I heard that he was on their new album. I don't know.
I know nothing about Duran Duran. I didn't actually go see the show. I just took them to see the show. Not that I got anything against Duran Duran. I actually think their basis is fantastic. But they're just not my thing. So if you want to see Alex Van Halen bald, look for Hank Williams Jr. My name is, how do you say that?
Bocephus.
Bocephus.
That's his nickname, is Bocephus.
Van
Halen were in a number of Hank Williams Jr. videos. They were buddies with him in the late 80s around the OU 812 era. And there was another song. There was a song where Hank Williams sings, "Well, we like old Waylon and we like Van Halen."
That's good, Ryan.
Yeah. And he was trying to cross over to the rock crowd, Hank Williams Jr. in the late 80s.
But so I'm working on the Big Rec stuff for the blog, and then I returned to YouTube with Sarka Sim. We did a little collection video, and then her stepdad just gave us a whole big box of records. So I got a video coming out about that. And then when we went to see Duran Duran, we stopped in a whole bunch of different little record shops on our way back. We did we took the long way home kind of thing. So got a whole bunch of stuff coming up whenever I get the energy to actually post it. So there you go. Go to CanadianGrooves.ca.
And there's Tim with the rest of the information on the Van Halen, Hank connection. Yes, and check out CanadianGrooves.ca. This guy's been reviewing Big Rec. And
I went to see them too a couple of weeks ago.
In concert, yeah.
It was an excellent show, man.
And it's kind of fun because your perspective is kind of you always known of them, but you're kind of coming at their music from new ears. Yeah,
like a buddy of mine was a huge fan. He asked me if I wanted to go see them. I said, sure, why not? He's like, hey, do you know anything about them? I'm like, not really. He's like, well, here's all their albums. So I've been listening to them, and but I gotta say, their albums are good, but man, if you ever get an opportunity to see them live, it's a completely different ball game. They're one of those bands that their albums just do not do them justice. They, they go all out with the guitar solos and adding in a lot of covers and that into their music, and it's a really good time.
Awesome.
Interesting.
Well, there you go. So CanadianGrooves.ca, check him out. He has been on the web for years. He is Kevin the Mars Man, we call him.
Yes.
And, he's also the latest cast member in the T-Bone Man saga. So there you go.
I am?
Oh yeah. Well, you read that one story where you were lost in space.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
And there was another story where we've enlisted you in the new superhero team, the Northern Lights.
Oh.
You share the stage with Max the Axe, the Snowman.
Oh, my goodness. I'm not worthy.
The mysterious Derling Foundation, which we haven't actually seen yet, but the Derling Foundation is going to be figuring into the story very soon. They're going to be like a tech supply source for our guys, but it's always like weird tech out of the 80s. Now, Jex Russell, you've got your jexcaliber.wordpress.com, as you can see right there. And you've been reviewing music, movies, telling stories of the good old days.
Yeah,
You posted a movie review, but you've got tons of stuff coming.
I do. I have stuff. Like, I try to release everything according to anniversaries. So I got I think 3 or 4 articles rather lined up for October. But September's kind of dry, so I try to think of stuff and publish at least once a week, every Friday usually. So, but October is going to be a good one. I got a Halloween special lined up, so
Nice.
Looking forward to that. And also, if Deke's still watching, he can confirm this. But we're planning our triumphant return of the Distortion Den.
Are we calling it season 2?
We could call it season 2. Yeah, of Retro Throwdown. We're going to bring it back. I think next week we're going to record, and it's probably going to come out around Saturday. But again, we got to confirm that. But yeah, we're going to slowly get back into it. We both needed a break, and now we're ready to get back into the game. So we changed our schedule. Our next episode was lined up, as I mentioned last week. I said, I think we're going to do Guns N' Roses going up against the Cult, but we decided, let's change it up. And I'm going to keep it a secret.
Well, the interesting thing about that is, of course, the Cult headlined and Guns N' Roses opened on the Appetite for Destruction tour when they rolled into town at Kitchener, Ontario, playing Super Skate 7.
Really?
And the legend goes, Guns N' Roses nearly got booed off the stage.
Oh, wow.
That's the legend. Anyway, thank you.
By the
guys.
way,
Hmm.
speaking of Deke, I live much closer to Deke now, and
You guys have met now.
yeah, I've met him in person, and there is a chance. I'm not promising anything, because if you said, I've been on the internet for a long time, and I know from experience not to promise anything, but there might be a crossover video happening in the future. Might be, maybe.
That would
The
be
stars
cool.
align.
Okay.
That would be cool.
There you go.
That would be.
I'm really looking forward to that.
You know what? We always like to end with a song, but this is just making me feel Community.
Oh,
And
there
we
we
may
go.
have even played Community last week. I can't remember. No, we played a Vision and Sound last week because Rob
Hey,
Jenkins was on.
You know, the community revolves around a bald guy, right?
That's
So
right. I was going to
this is
say.
this is good opportunity to play that song.
I was going to say that my big oversight this week was that I forgot to ask Aaron for a list. He's not generally available at this time, but we are going to be seeing Aaron more often this fall because we're going to be doing more 8 o'clock shows, and that's good for Jex and that's good for Aaron. So we will be seeing, and Harrison. So we will be seeing more of Aaron this fall. But yeah, he is kind of like the icon. I've known Aaron for almost 30 years, and he's been bald since day one. And he is an icon, and he is all about the community. And Kevin and Sarah are in this video, and Deke's in this video. And yeah, this is a T-Bone Erickson song called Community. So again, CanadianGrooves.ca, jexcaliber.wordpress.com. Check us out. All kinds of music. If you want vinyl, this guy here. He's got a heck of a collection, and this guy's collection is growing by the moment. So we're going to rock out with a song here called Community. Hopefully we'll see you next week as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't be afraid to rock it bald. Take care. We'll see you. Bye.
Right.
and it keeps me alive. Community, it's my community. Community, it's my community. It's where we'll thrive with community, and it keeps me alive. Community, it's our community. Community, community, community. Community, it's our community. Community, 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 it's our community. Community, 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 it's our community.
Hola desde Cuba a la comunidad de Aaron.